Hello and welcome to Just Chillin'. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Hoffman, and across from me is the lovely Andy Bell. We're going to mix up the intro a little bit today, and I'm going to try to do a little bit of business in the front because I don't want to do it at the tail end. So, just so you know, you can send us emails and voicemails at feedback@justchillin.com or anywhere else. If you know how to get a hold of us, you can find the links to all that on our website at justchillin.com. But yeah, that was. I probably should have written out an intro ahead of time, but that's what you're going to get this week. Yeah, let's jump into it. Andy, how's it going, buddy?
Expertly done. Brilliant.
Hey,
I'm
thank
very
you, thank
well,
you, thank you.
thank you. I'm very well, thank you. Good evening, all. How are you, mate? How was your week?
Pretty good, pretty good. I want to take a minute and apologize for how terrible our podcast was last week. I mean, we jumped in with the scruffy. I'm just totally kidding. That was awesome. I had a lot of fun. I really appreciate them having us on and sharing the episode with us so we could post it as well. I don't know what your thoughts
Well,
were on it, but
I loved it. I mean, I spent some time with the guys anyway, and I always have fun when I'm getting abused by them. And so that's always a lot of fun. But no, it's great. It's always great catching up with them. They make, I mean, they're equally as disorganized as we are. So it's great. It's great to know that the quality bar can be actually quite low for us to achieve. But no, it's really really good fun, and they got us out of a hole. If I'm perfectly honest with you, because you were away the previous week, I was away with work as well the previous week, and then the idea of us coming together as one last Sunday evening seemed like a blessing, and it was, like I said, it was really, really good fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed. I always do enjoy catching up with them.
same. They're good dudes. They're good dudes over there. But
Hmm.
besides that, I like you said, I was gone the week prior. I don't even know what dates are anymore. I was in Puerto Vallarta with Madison. We went on a little trip. That was fun. That was a good little time. Recently, a couple days ago, I started a fake fight with our friend Eric, which is a good time. I'm looking forward to continuing that. All because he is a Taylor Swift fan, obviously, and somehow, just briefly, Madison somehow got me sucked into this online drama of people theorizing that there is beef between Taylor Swift and Casey Musgraves. And obviously, I'm a Casey Musgraves fan through Madison. And so, therefore, Eric is my enemy. And then we'll see what happens from there. But no, it's all in good fun. Unless it is serious, then we'll see. But other than that, just hanging out, vibing. What's anything else new with you before we jump into exciting
Yeah.
stuff?
So yeah, I think I told everyone last week on the Scruffies, or on the Scruffies collaboration last week, that I'd been abroad for work the previous week. This week, I took a week off. So I had some time to use up before the end of our fiscal year, which is the end of March. And so I had to use some time up before, otherwise I'd lose the holiday. So we were planning to have a very quiet and intimate week, myself and Lucy at home. But we decided on Tuesday morning, or sorry, I say we, I mean the boss decided Tuesday morning, let's go to the coast. So we packed our bags, jumped in the car, and went down to Devon, which is by the coast in the UK. The weather is still not great this time of year, so it was very very much a case of wrapping up and taking plenty of layers and a waterproof garb with us in the car. But we had 3 or 4 days down there by the coast. Very very quiet time of year. It's everyone's at work, everyone's at school, so there's no public holidays per se to make it particularly busy. But it's good fun, really, really good fun. We did very little. We drank an awful lot of the wrong stuff. We ate an awful lot of the wrong stuff. We had the dog with us, and we did plenty of miles, and it was really, really good fun. And because the weather was so bad, I don't know if you remember last week, I told you that I'd treated myself to a little bit of Lego. I managed to build at night in the dark evenings. I built the Lego Ornithopter from June, which was a riot to build. It's the first Lego set with, I would say, with a lot of Technics um, gubbins in it. And for a simple brained person like myself, I found it quite a challenge. But I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. And it flaps its wings. So I must have done something right because it all works. I didn't have to rebuild it. I didn't have to go back and recount my steps or anything. But that was really, really good. And I've sent you
If
guys some photographs
it
of it.
flaps its wings and they stay attached. It's not that they flap and
And they
all the
said,
pieces go
yeah, they
and
stay
they're not flying
attached.
off and stuff. It
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
stays
exactly,
connected.
exactly. And so that's been my week. It's been a totally different. It's the total polar opposite of the previous week. Not a lot going on at all. It's been lovely. It's been really, really good.
That is awesome to hear. Um, Yeah, I think the Scruffies did us a favor because I know last week I was like, all right, well, all I can talk about is Puerto Vallarta, and you could talk about your misconnection with your airport stuff, and I had like a whole. I'm like the only time I've ever come into an episode where it's like I know the title ahead of time. It's gonna be sunburns and misconnections.
Mhm.
It's gonna be fantastic because I was super fried because like you, I'd also drank all the things because I know like I remember I think it was in the pre-show last week when they're like uh, what'd you have? Oh no, maybe it was during the show. I don't remember anymore.
During the show.
They're like, it's like, oh, what'd you have? And it's like, I just had booze and more booze, and I feel like I finally like dried out now, and so I'm in a better place. So that's awesome.
So, my friend, um, what news have you caught up with, or what news have you found in the last week or so? I must admit, I've been somewhat incommunicado, so I don't have an awful lot. I do have a few things, but I'll let you lead this, mate.
I'm finally for once prepared with some news this week. It's not because I went out and found it. It's just because I've been playing with that stupid Blue Sky feed, and I just keep seeing it repeatedly. So I'm trying to fix a bunch of issues. So there's been a handful of things. So specifically in Star Wars news, 'cause that's what most of my news is. The new it's not new, but like the Battlefront re-release games have come out.
Mhm.
Um, Apparently it's been plagued with issues. uh, I can't really go much deeper than that because that's all I really know. It sounds like they didn't launch enough servers. People were pissed. They had a ton of people playing. It didn't work. Tons of bugs, lots of other stuff. And so, yay for that. Hopefully, it gets resolved because I'd love to jump back into. I haven't played those games in forever, but it'd be cool to kind of hop back in for a hot minute. If they re-release any games, they really need to go after, in my opinion, Twisted Metal and like remake those into an awesome game because
Yeah.
I would Saves are so much fun. I can't even go down that path. I'm not even gonna do it. Um, One of the things I'm really excited about. I won't buy them because I have enough as it is. As you may or may not know, I am a huge fan of the Micro Galaxy Squadron toys. I'm a big ship guy. All those fun things, and I love that scale. It's what I grew up with. That's probably why I'm obsessed with modeling. And they've recently announced, or they released. I don't think they were announced it. They released them. A B wing, a U wing. Those are the only ones I really care about. But they also have a Darth Vader Sith starfighter and a Naboo starfighter. Um, they're pretty sick. They're pretty cool. The B wing and the U wing, like a small scale U wing. I need that. I want it. I won't buy it. I can't buy it, but I love those toys. If you have little ones that are maybe into that kind of stuff, I highly recommend looking into it. Don't go after all the stupid chase ones and stuff, uh, because they're always expensive on eBay. But like your local local stores should have them. They're pretty cool.
The B Wing is my favorite fighter of all time ever. I know we
Nice.
were talking recently about E Wing and the vintage collection E Wing that's coming out, and I have actually pre ordered that because it's already sold out. Great, well done, Hasbro. But um, but of all time ever, it's the B Wing because it's so radically different to everything else at that time, and also my fascination with the tertiary, sorry, the secondary or tertiary characters. Nien Num has always been a number two to Chewie as my guys. It's always been the alien co-pilot. Chewie number one, Nien Num number two, and I still to this day have a pristine Legacy Collection Nien Num in his B-wing flight suit, as seen in Return of the Jedi when they're being briefed on the on Home One. So he's actually kitted out as a B-wing pilot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not in the vest that you see him later on in the Falcon. And I've always wanted to put him in something, and I can't afford the vintage B-wing. So this
Well,
might be a cheaper
this is
substitute for me.
this
Sorry.
doesn't solve that problem,
No, it
but
doesn't. No, it doesn't.
if I ever get my head in its proper place again, I have a Bandai special edition B-wing kit inside my cabinet behind me that is waiting to get built, and now I have a recipient for that. So it's sometime in the
Cool.
next 45 years that may end up in your hands.
I've
Maybe
even
I'll
tried to.
jump
Sorry,
into the front.
I'm doing the usual and going off at tangents already, but this is all good stuff. I've always coveted the Lego UCS B-wing as well, and if you look at the price of those now, crazy money, crazy money for an inbox, mint inbox MCS Lego B-wing. It's you're talking at least 400-500 bucks, which is the same price now as the UCS Millennium Falcon, which is significantly larger. Anyway,
So I think that's why I
hold
get
on.
sucked into the models because it's like I want the
Yeah,
high quality
yeah.
detail, but I can't have I mean you see here, I don't have room for any UCS. I don't have size for the non-UCS ones. It's like I want like really high quality small, and plus that means I have to build them. So that's pretty easy to store them when they're all in boxes in that cabinet
Sure.
because now it's all on my shoulders. It's like, well, I have them. I just have to build them and
Yeah.
make it. So that's kind of like a self arrest kind of way of dealing with shopping compulsion. And for the techie nerds out there, uh, I've also blocked Big Bad Toy Store on my router through DNS, so I literally can't access it on my phone. Like if I try to go to bigbadtoystore.com on my phone, I can't. I can't even access it on my phone. Nothing. It just doesn't work. It's
Is
that's how
that
much of a
some?
problem it is.
I was gonna say, is that some sort of therapy for you guys? For you?
It's
It,
it's do you get those emails that are always really good and really tailored, and they're like they should send you a picture. It's like we have a cool new Ninja Turtle,
Sean,
and so it just adds
Sean.
it adds a barrier because then now I click on it and it's like and it just fails and I'm like, oh, that is gonna like I could turn it off, but that's an extra step. Like it adds a
Got it.
barrier to getting
Got
to
it.
it. That's like it
Well
kills that
played.
instant gratification. Yeah,
Well played.
you got to just got to set boundaries for yourself.
Yeah.
The other only a couple other quick things. Star Wars Unlimited, the deck building trading card game came out from Fantasy Flight. I think that came out March 8th. They started with their Spark of Rebellion starter pack. I will probably check this out. Um, I don't have anybody to play with here, but that's also because I haven't gone to the game store in a long time. I probably
Mm,
don't need to get involved in that again, although the being social in person and sense of community would probably be nice. But if
mm.
it's anything like my X-wing X-wing miniatures stuff, it'll be fun for the first hour, and then it's like I really would like to go home now, and sit on my couch and not be standing over this table or sitting here. So, but that's cool. It's cool that their fantasy flights really kind of pumping out more stuff.
Didn't
Love board games.
didn't didn't Sony Entertainment didn't Sony Entertainment alongside Star Wars Galaxies, didn't they have a digital um trading card game like 10 years
The
ago,
digital
whatever it
trading
was?
card. I think
Yeah.
the like there's that one, the collectible trading card thing, like the digital one where like they've had like artists from all over create little digital cards that you can
No,
collect.
no,
Or this is an
this is
actual
different.
game.
This is an actual game, but I can't because what they tried to do was they tried to incorporate it actually in Star Wars Galaxies in the MMO, and it never really worked out. It never really worked after the new gaming experience. They introduced this new
Yep,
sideline
Galaxy's trading card
trading
game.
card. There you go. And it was really, really odd because you would get you'd get awarded cards to play outside of the MMO experience, but they would also yield gifts and wearables or animals that you or rides, sorry, mounts. I mean, and it would gift you something actually in game as well. It was really really bizarre, and it was good for some funky stuff that you could play in the MMO. But the trading card side of it, I don't think ever took off. It never was particularly. It, it, how can I say it never really no one really understood what it meant, if that makes sense. It
Yeah.
wasn't
It's like
particularly
a
intuitive.
it's like a
Yeah,
bolt-on thing. It's like, so it sounds like we can
yeah.
blame that for the rise of NFTs because it sounds like,
Could be.
you know, maybe somebody was inspired. But rolling along, there were some comics released recently: Darth Vader 44, High Republic Adventures number 4, Mace Windu number 2. I have not read them yet. I am not a good source for comic or books. You should go over to Jam Transmissions or Rogue Rebels for that. Our friends over there, they're cool. They're a lot smarter with that literary stuff than I am, but they're cool. They're out there. The covers look neat. Um, and there's also one that I did check out, was a preview of the new Visions one shot, which I think have very confusing names, because it's called Visions Takashi Okazaki number 1, which I thought Takashi Okazaki was the name of the comic, but it's the name of the story, the writer, whatever the proper
Yeah,
term is. But the comic name is Ronan and the Droid. Basically, it's taken all the Vision stuff and it's not continuing that story, but it's part of the Ronan, like it's the dual
yeah,
character guy, and it looks sick. There was a previous one called Visions Peach Momoko number 1, which is obviously done by Peach Momoko. Um, they're pretty cool. I like the Visions comics. I like them. I really like one shots. Like I've never been a huge comic person, but the one shots are really neat because it's just you read it and you're done. It's not like read and then I gotta wait 3 months and then try to remember what happened. And it's like the one shots are really really cool. But yeah, those are cool and they look really neat. The art's neat, and that's what I.
that's cool. That's cool. I did like. I really, really. I mean, what an opening as well. I mean, we didn't really know what we were going to get with Visions, and the duel, if I remember rightly, was actually the very, very first um, anthology in that first season. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind. The artwork I thought was phenomenal. The story I thought was great. And then I bought the book, which was the expanded, which takes it beyond the initial duel where the Sith lady is killed or supposedly killed, and then is, spoilers everyone, resurrected by an entity of some kind or another, and carries on to pursue the Ronin across the galaxy. I didn't finish it. It got really, really. It got
Same.
while I enjoyed the anthology, I enjoyed the episode itself, and it was really, really good as a one shot. The book I found really heavy going, and
Yeah,
I do mean to finish it, but I'm gonna have to start all over again.
it is a bit beyond my like young adult reading enjoyment level, but
Yeah,
I had the same kind of thing where it's like you start. It's like the short was really good. The novel was like this could have been half as long. Like I'm a big
well,
fan of world building and stuff, but it was just like it just got so like what are we what are we? It sounds like it was something really good, and they tried adapting it and making it longer, and it's like
well,
and to fill it in.
it also, to your point, it requires a lot of brain power as well. You've got this masked this masked curious chap that joins them, and you don't know whether they're a force user themselves, whether they're a good person or a bad person. You've got this mystery around this particular person, and it just got too complicated, and I kind of gave up.
Yeah,
And I will go back at some point.
just need some
Okay,
more vacations of sitting on the beach, man. That's what you need.
exactly. um I've got 4 things, sorry. So in gaming news I picked up this week, and it's been out for quite a this news has been out for quite a while, but I've only just picked it up. And that is and it kind of lends itself nicely to my current um, love for anything Dune. Um, Dune's getting its own MMO, Dune Awakening, and the beta is out there at the moment. I don't know any more than that, but the visuals that I've seen at the moment on YouTube look absolutely spectacular. I like a good MMO that I can get involved in, that's not particularly time sensitive and particularly story driven, shall we say. I can just go off wandering and do my own thing. So I'm quite looking forward to checking that out when it's available. In toys, I noticed that there was a really sweet Gotham City skyline set that's coming out. Now, I'm not. I know I've been talking a lot about Lego over the last couple of episodes, and I do have a fair amount, but I'm not. I wouldn't say call myself an avid collector. But this is almost like a 3D painting, a very shallow painting, albeit in 3D, of the Gotham City skyline.
That's sick.
Very
I'm looking
very.
at it now. That's cool.
Have you got it?
Yeah, pull it up.
It's just like it looks like a bookend, right? It looks like something that you can have on the on your bookshelf, just as a piece of art, if you like.
It's like a
And it's
backsplash. It's like a backsplash for a
exactly,
shelf. Yeah.
exactly. So that caught my eye. And then lastly, when it comes down to our televisual entertainment, Fallout, a game that I loved, certainly Fallout 4, a game that I loved is getting its interpretation to live action. And that coming out as a TV series on April the 12th. So I'm looking forward to that. Yet another gaming franchise that's finding its way to live action. So we'll have to make sure that we diarize that pod soon, where we talk about uh, translating comics and video games to live action. What's landed well and what hasn't. But I'm looking forward to that. And then lastly, in the last couple of days, I believe that Patty Jenkins has said that Rogue Squadron, the original film that may or may not still be a film, or indeed may or may not be a TV series. Now we're not quite sure what's going on, but she's very much saying that it's still very much in development, and that she owes Kathy and the guys over at Lucasfilm a second draft of her script. So that's a surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one. And it's and for me, I know I have caught up on a few pods this week, and I know that they've been a few of our friends have commented about it, and I wouldn't say there's an awful lot of enthusiasm out there for this kind of show, because I think all of us thought it was done. That was it. It was gone. But I'm looking forward to it. Again, this goes back to my fascination with the secondary and tertiary characters out there, the Any Man story, and the relative breather we can get from Force users that seem to be overpopulating the galaxy these days. So I'm looking forward to something like that. And if it goes, and I've got I've got a bit of a crush on the Rebel pilots anyway. You know, the Biggs, the Porkins, the Wedge Antilles of the OT, and then of course uh, Oscar Isaac's character, whose name I've forgotten at this moment in time.
I'm just gonna let you sit with it.
Poe Dameron.
There it is.
And his my god, I don't know what happened there. And his team with and his team up with and his team in Black Squadron. I love that. I love that stuff, and the idea of a Top Gun esque type of show, or maybe less Top Gun esque and more Memphis Belle and Masters of the Air kind of show coming up in the Star Wars universe would be sick. And that's it from me, mate.
So
Very
just to
shyly.
add it, so it's like you were talking about Rogue Squadron and how people aren't excited for it. Like I'm pumped. Like, but then again,
Mm.
I'm over here, wink, wink, nod, nudge, nudge, just chilling, just hanging out, just waiting for my Disney check. Dude, I'm pumped for it. Like, because I guess I'm in that stance of like, dude, mediocre Star Wars is better than no Star Wars, because like, but I think it'll be good. Like, I think it'll be good because it's like, dude, it's ships. It's more here. I'm a ship guy now. It's more close-ups of starfighters. It's more. It's something. It's more characters. It's more this. It's more that. Like I guess I'm in a way I'm saying it's like I'm glad I didn't get my blood pressure up when they originally kind of speculated that it was not going to continue forward. So I'm like, I never left, and I'm still sitting in the camp of like, hell yeah, dude, I'm excited. This is gonna be cool. And if it's not, then I just won't watch it again. Um, but it's something new, and I like something. I like new things. And if I end up not liking them, I don't repeat them. But if it's good, cool. Merch that will come out
Yeah.
a year later, more toys maybe a year later, and cool. More. It keeps
I'm
me.
I'm
keep-
I'm looking forward to it. I'm
Yeah,
looking
because
forward to it, and you made the comment last week actually with the Scruffies is that look at the impact and the power that Andor had, um, the impact it made, the fact that it wasn't it was what was going on behind the scenes. We have these amazing legends of our really amazing characters and the heroes of the rebellion, um, but at the same time there was this huge um, military engine behind them that had an awful lot of people and that would have had their own stories as well. And that's the kind of stuff these days where I am in my Star Wars fandom. I want to hear a lot more about. So yeah, I'm up for it.
Well, and I think there's a one final piece on that. It's like if you're not feeling excited about it, like there's always one thing you can keep in mind, and why I think is one of the many aspects of why Andor was so successful. You never hear people talk about what is and is not canon when you talk about Andor, because
Mm,
it's not that it doesn't matter. It's just it's not you're not packing more stuff into that same singular line of like mysticism. It's like it's
yeah.
just a story. It's just it is what I mean. Hell, we already know how it ends. Like,
Mm,
and it's still able to be compelling because it doesn't have to fight all of these other things. So I think Rogue Squadron is in there as well. Of like, it doesn't. It's not who's got a lightsaber. Oh, let's add some more Force users that aren't dead. It's like no, this is it can be independent, and it's
mm.
got no strings attached, and it could just be whatever it wants to be. And I'm excited for that. It's cool. So good on it. Um, the other thing I wanted to joke with you had me. I think I blacked out for like a split second when you started talking about the Gotham City skyline Lego set. I missed the Lego set part, and I got really excited actually because Madison plays a game called City Skylines, where
Oh
it's like a Sim City, and
yeah,
I heard Gotham City Skylines, and I was like, yo, am I gonna have to start playing that game? Like, cause that would be awesome if I could make a Sim City game with, but it's actually Gotham City. That would be awesome. And then every once you're playing, all of a sudden, like the bat signal goes up. It's like, oh, it's happening. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. But I got very distracted in my head for a minute. And I was like, that would be so cool. Then I heard the word Lego and I was like, ah, but the Lego is still
damn
cool.
it.
But I was like, damn, that would have been cool too. Uh, yeah. All right. So that's the news. Sorry, I had to say it because it just keeps distracting me, and I'm like,
No, 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 no,
that would be
no,
cool.
no, not at all. So, what have you been watching this week?
So I've watched a ton. I'm not going to talk about the Bad Batch yet. We're obviously punting
Yeah,
on that, and just so
yeah,
everybody knows, if you're listening to this podcast and whatever, I put podcast chapters in it, and so if your podcatcher supports it, and you just want to jump straight to the Bad Batch stuff first, and then come back, feel free. You can bounce all around. It should be labeled for you. So just a fun tip there. But what I've been watching, I've watched a ton of stuff. Watched a ton of stuff this week. I'll try to blaze through some of the ones that I just have like quick thoughts on to share with you, and some of them obviously have spoilers for you that I don't want to spoil. But we did finish our Oscar watch through.
excellent.
Two of them were after the Oscars, but we don't care. One of them was the Zone of Interest. Uh, yeah, the
Yeah,
it's a very good movie. Like
yeah,
very well shot. I will say I highly recommend people watch it. It does have to do with 1940s Germany, Holocaust, concentration camps, but it doesn't get into. It's not like similar to what I said about Masters of the Air. It's like it's not like war porn. It doesn't show anything Like it's all implied. And so and that to me is what makes it, and the audio design is unreal in this movie. If I could suggest it a way to watch it for anybody, watch it with headphones. If you want
Yeah.
the true experience, watch it with headphones, like especially like an over ear sound, like a noise canceling. It will. It's a different movie, but like it's not one to have on in the background. It is.
No.
It is a sit and watch this and take it. But it's very good. It's very very good.
Yeah.
Um, the next one was
Yeah,
American. Oh, go ahead.
that's I would say that that's the one. That's the one that I'm that Lucy and I in particular have got racked up for this weekend because the story, it's a little bit like other films that I've fallen in love with recently. It's the story behind the making of it and the purpose
Oh yeah, I totally forgot. And when you
is as
watch it,
interesting as it is as interesting as the movie itself.
yeah, when you finish watching it, watch the extras. There's a specific
Yeah.
extra where they talk about it, and it's not a spoiler, but like they'll talk about how they wanted it to be kind of isolating in a way, and so there's not a film crew like on set. It's
Mm,
cameras are kind of stationary, and there's not like a film crew behind them. So like if you see somebody in a room by themselves, they're there by themselves,
yeah.
acting and doing stuff. So it's hearing about that, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
that that just makes it so much. It's so much more. I don't know. You just have to watch. It's real. It's really good. Um, the next one we watched was American Fiction. Uh, this is one that obviously I'm not the right demographic to speak about what it means in some of the concepts, but I would say it was very good. It's all over the place emotionally, intentionally. But the end, stick through it. The ending is fantastic. Um, it is not what you think it is, but it's got a lot of social commentary. It's very well written, very well acted. Uh, it's a very interesting story. Um, but like I said, it's like I'm not the one. I'm not the one kind of. I'm not the type of person to
Yeah.
comment on what it really means. But I can tell you, it's a very good movie. Uh, I've also watched. I watched this on a plane. I read the book, but I forgot it because my reading retention is horrible. I watched the Hunger Games: Songbirds and Snakes movie, and
Oh wow.
it was it was good. It was better than I thought it was going to be. It just seemed to kind of come and go and disappear. I think I probably would have never heard anything about it, but I am a fan. I do enjoy Rachel Zegler's work,
Yeah.
and I thought it was really a really good adaptation. Like I forgot everything that happened in the book, but then you kind of get into it, and it's like it's good. I like it. I'm hope I that's a universe I want more out of. Not necessarily
Yeah.
like the same window of time, but the Hunger Games universe. I think there's an element of it that scares me because it's like, are we headed for this?
Mm,
Um, but it's just a very rich and interesting universe to dive into, and I thought that movie was better than I think the reviews and stuff have said it was.
good. Good. Because I mean we talked before about those the books in particular was um a media that I bonded with my daughters on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that at some point.
Heavy connections to the future. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there are things in that story that enhance the originals.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
because like I'm sure you know, it's kind of about snow
Snow,
and
yeah.
yeah, and so it's like it gives a lot of context to like who he is and things like that, and it's very interesting. The other ones I'll rapid fire through. Master of the Air wrapped up. I won't spoil anything. 'Cause I know I believe you just started watching
Just
it, but
started. Just started.
I will say the curve goes like this, whoosh, like straight, this parabolas itself right on up through the roof because last third to last episode is really good. Second to last episode is like, ooh, buddy, here we go. And that last episode is top notch. it's different. Don't go in thinking it's for other people. Don't go in thinking it's going to be Band of Brothers or the Pacific. They're all three different, but it is worth it to get through it. And it's really good.
Excellent.
The only other things
Looking forward
are
to it.
Shogun, which we'll talk together. Which if you're not watching that show, people, you should be. If you like Game of Thrones, but in like I'll call it
I'm so
retro
glad.
Japan.
I'm so
Ooh,
glad you found it. I'm so glad you found it. It's when it first it kind of slipped out. It like I said a couple of weeks back. It was this 81. It originally came out with Richard Chamberlain was the original version. It was very romanticized, very romanticized because it was a production for the time, shall we say? And it was Richard Chamberlain who was the a particular in particular type of productions at that moment in time. This is gnarly, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
I enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it all the way through. I think it's because one, there's an element of like I'm excited for celebration. I've been
Yeah,
doing Japanese lessons on Duolingo for a while. It's just kind of very present. So I think there's an element that got me into watching it. But I think after episode 4, and not for specific reasons in that episode that I think people would immediately jump to, but like the the marbles are racing down the track now. Like it's like, okay, we've got the setup, and now shit's happening.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
exciting.
mean,
It's a
it's without giving anything away to those of you that haven't watched it yet. That this is the proverbial shit hit the fan in episode 4, where if you think about the period in history of in feudal Japan where we were at, there's this very um, unbalanced and very fractious relationship between um, different different members of the Japanese council, the ruling council that are essentially in charge of the country, while the regent am I being right here?
the Council of Regents or whatever it's called.
Well, no. There is a successor to the old emperor, isn't there?
Oh yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
he's a baby, or
Mhm.
or he's very young, and there's a council of regents that are basically ruling the country and have they have to vote on everything, and there's a very fractious relationship between these disparate lords that own big chunks of the islands, and that's all gone to shit by episode 4, and it's fantastic. It's absolutely brilliant.
But I think you made me realize like one thing that they do really well in it. It's like they do a really good job at like setting the scene, letting you
Yeah,
like teaching you about like the relationship with maybe uh Portugal, Spain, like in the Catholic Church, the Protestant Church. But it's not like it doesn't beat you over the head with it. Like it gives you pieces here and there and sets the stage, but then it's also teaches you about like what Japan was like at
yeah,
this time for those who are maybe unfamiliar with it and how very different it is from modern day Japan. And it does a really good job of like ramping you into this instead of just like tossing you and being like, well, you don't know about feudal Japan. Well, best of luck. And like it's not spoilery, but like there's characters who don't know what it's like in Japan, and you kind of like learn along with them
yeah.
in a way that's subtle. It's part of the story, and it's so good right now. I'm really hopeful. I didn't know it was based off something originally, so um it's
Well, to your point, I mean, to your point, it's a really good history lesson as well for anyone that to understand imperialism. Back,
yeah.
the West, especially Western Europe and imperialism. You had essentially a race. I think of it as the original space race,
Mhm.
albeit it was about new continents and new countries across the globe, where you had um, Western Europe, the UK, France, Portugal in particular, Spain in particular, the Ottoman Empire, heading east and not west, and they were heading east, and the Indias were the first areas of contention, um, and obviously, the UK had a massive foothold in the Indias, and then you go even further still. And then the a lot of the Asia Pacific region was next on their radar, and it was all about power, and it was all about control, and in most cases, it was all artificially fabricated as being something to do with spreading the word of God.
Yeah.
So, on both sides, I mean, it was all about capitalism. I mean, it always has been. Let's not, let's not mince our words here. It was about exploiting what the West thought as, should we say, more subservient countries, and exploiting their land, their resources to bring riches back, and for the betterment of their home nation. And like I said, they masked it in some sort of nonsense around it being spreading the word of God, and the local religion at the time, and at the time you had the influence of Rome on the Catholic Church in Spain and Portugal, and in the UK you had the Protestant, or the Church of England at that moment in time. So very, very much it was a case of, um, um, the Catholics versus Protestants, which, as you know, in the UK has been, an ongoing problem for many, many, many years. But ultimately, it was all about capitalism.
Yeah.
The religious part was a smokescreen, and and then they've introduced that kind of atmosphere into this amazing feudal Japan, which has already got its own politics and its own belief system and its own customs, and it's all like this amazing.
It's dripping with feudal Japanese kind of
Oh,
customs and beliefs, and it's just
it, it, it's like a bunch of explosives just about ready to go off. It's just all this tension and all this conflicting views and this conflicting culture, and I just love it. I love the tension.
well, and
It's an
I think
amazing program.
that's the spice to it. I think that's like the special
Yeah,
ingredient, in my opinion. It's like there's so many there's so many shows that are similar to this, like Game of Thrones and whatever, but they follow the 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 Western kind of norms of
yeah,
storytelling or behavior of
yeah, yeah.
what is honor, strength, yada yada yada, going to war, whatever. And this is just like you don't know what's going to happen because it's
Nope.
mixing these two cultures. Like it's all kind of blending at the same time. So if you're not watching it, watch it.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I love it.
that's
I
that's a
absolutely love it.
takeaway.
I love it, and
Um,
in so many ways, you've got the arrogance of the West coming to the what they call the Japans at the time, which is an old name for the region, and the absolute arrogance of the West on all sides of them being superior, but things like but in many cases, feudal Japan being so much more superior than the West's idea of culture, of civilization, of what it is to be. To have honor, to be proud, to be polite. I mean, the most extreme, to even bathe.
yeah.
It's amazing that our hero, from the UK, finds it strange that people in Japan bathe once a day and not
How
once a
how
week.
interesting for you to assume that the guy from the UK is the hero. I guess
Ex-
we'll just have to find out.
we'll have to find out exactly how arrogant. How
I
arrogant.
do. I'm just messing with you, but I do have a question for you. I'm gonna see if I can, because I don't want to spoil it because it is new. But it's like I
Mm.
have a question that's been eating at me, and I refuse. I kind of looked on the internet. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not the kind of person who's like I'm gonna go Google for answers because it's just a cesspool out there. Um, Near the end of the latest episode, is the shadowy figure a courtesan, an actual courtesan, or who, or somebody else, or it's like, or a known character? In your opinion,
I think it's a courtesan.
you
I
think it
think
is?
it's I think it's a courtesan. I think that so there are three prominent female characters in the last episode, all of which have an interest in with our the protagonist. One is, obviously the widow of, that is his translator, which, there are
Monarch,
clearly.
Monarch sister.
Yeah, which are clearly he's going to have. Yes, of course it is. Which clearly is going to be the second is consort,
I know it's a C word. I'm
which
like,
is which
C-O.
is the yeah, which is the widow of the gentleman that disgraced himself and therefore had to had to had to take his own life and the life of his eldest son. Sorry, nobody's going to understand what we're talking about. And then obviously, lastly, to make him relaxed, they hired a courtesan. Now maybe there's a twist to this, but I think it literally is. Um, I
You
think
think it
it
was a you
literally
think it was
is.
a courtesan
Yeah,
and
I do. I do.
not one of the others two for
No,
sake of
no.
spoilers.
I
See,
I I could be completely wrong, but
oh yeah, like
I
because
could be completely wrong.
it's with the exchange that they had where it's like
Yeah,
I don't know,
and
it
I
was
know what you
weird.
mean, and the yeah, yeah, I know what you. I don't know. I don't know.
Cool.
Have to sit and have to wait and see. Hey, it's good stuff though.
I'm not good at waiting. Like Matt. So Matt, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Madison has this rule where she doesn't like to watch shows until the series is over.
You told me. You told me.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and so I'm really grateful for this podcast because now it's like a reason for me to be like, I gotta stay current, you know. So
yeah,
I
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
watch it. Uh, so I get her to watch some stuff. Like I got her to watch Masters of the Air and like and things like that. And we have in any of the Star Wars Disney shows or whatever, some of the Marvel stuff she'll watch. But it is it is interesting. It's like, oh, what do you want to watch? It's like, well, I think we can watch The Sopranos now. It's like, yeesh. I'm like, let's go.
It's a
But
battle, though, isn't it?
yeah,
That's some commitment. Again. I mean, another reason why I'm liking this is it's again one of those programs that I've watched with Lucy, and
mhm,
that she's quite eager to watch with me. It's one of our programs,
nice,
in air quotes. And and when we find our program in air quotes, it's usually a good time. So
same.
yeah, that's another reason why I'm liking it as well.
Speaking of which, what are you watching? I want to hear. Let's hear your
Good
list.
segue. God. So like you, Shogun, I watched it quite early. I watched the first two episodes a little bit before you, and then you leapfrogged me, and I kind of spent the last week catching up as well, and I caught up on episode four, and again thoroughly enjoying it. So I won't spend any more time on that. I have finished For All Mankind, so I've we used the last week in between um, busting open Lego bags. Um, we finished For All Mankind again, a show that Lucy and I thoroughly enjoyed together. Really, really good, really, really good. There is a season 5 on its way, which is great. Which will take us into the 2010s. Um, so we've kind of almost caught up with ourselves. They have every series is a decade jump to the next stage of man's um, advancement into space into the galaxy, and it's really odd. It's really really odd because I really enjoyed season 4. I think I said to you I enjoyed seasons 1 and 2 more than I did 3, because 3 got a lot more fantastical in that the technology's not only caught up with us now, but also surpassed us now because obviously there is the urgency of the space race, which hasn't stopped since Russia was the first country to land on the moon, and it's got even further with season 4. But what I like about it now is that you have a colony now on Mars. And I'm sorry if it's a spoiler, but it's kind of it was a natural evolution from the moon to
It's
Mars.
inevitable. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so there's a colony on Mars, and it's really really interesting because I don't know if you ever read the books or watched the TV series The Expanse, whereby
I was actually gonna bring it up. I'm like, have you ever watched The Expanse? Because that
yeah,
was a
yeah,
really
yeah.
good show.
Yeah, yeah. So it's got to a point in season 4 where you've got a new population, a new demographic of people that see that they, that Mars is there. They come from Mars now. They're not born there. They're
Yeah.
still very much shipping people out there, but their home is Mars. Their lifestyle, their life is Mars, and there's something that happens during season 4 that really underlines that, and they unionize. They start looking out. They start getting together, and the workers um, that are keeping the colony and keeping the civilization together on Mars are starting to think about A, their rights, but B, the importance that the civilization that they've built,
Yeah. Yeah.
with their own blood, sweat, and tears is it's really really important, and that they should have an awful lot more concessions, or if you like, a lot more respect from the Earth, and and it only happened towards the end of season 4, and I thought it's almost like a preamble or a prequel to The Expanse. If you it only take another 100 or 200 years, and I could see what's going on in For All Mankind being this the independent entities that are the Terrans, the folk from Mars, the Belters. Because I tell you what, it's a very very similar kind of dynamic
Nice.
going on there. Um, I had to even look it up because I honestly thought, is this in the same universe? You know how they say, for example, and I'm sorry, we're going off topic a little bit, but they do say that, for example, that there's enough Easter eggs in the modern day Alien prequels
Mhm.
that Ridley Scott put in that suggests that Blade Runner and Alien live in the same universe. They're actually in the same universe. So Tyrell from Tyrell Corporation, that creates the replicants, knew um, um, Wayland Yutani, the guys that create the androids in Alien. They're both on a similar trajectory of developing um, artificial intelligence in the same universe. And I felt the same thing about when I finished For All Mankind, about the relationship between that and The Expanse, because it's so familiar. Unfortunately, it's not related, but good God, it could be. It could be. And another reason why I implore anyone that enjoyed The Expanse, not just for the shooty laser rockets, but also the story and the political machinations of what was going on, the terrorism that was going on with underground movements and activists, both in the belt with the Belters and with Mars. If they like that kind of stuff, it might be an idea to watch For All Mankind as well. So I finished that. Well, I'm sorry if I went on a little bit, but honestly,
No, you're
it's
good.
four seasons, so I feel as if I've earned my stripes on this one.
Have
Um,
you have you ever read the theories that they think all of the movies in the Pixar universe are connected? Like they all lead
no.
up to like Wally. Oh, dude, I'll have to send you a link.
Oh
It's a
God,
fun time that they say
you got to
all the
stop doing
Pixar
this to
movies
me.
are
Stop doing
are
this to
all
me.
one big universe,
You know
which is kind of
everything you send
depressing in a
me.
way, but
You know everything you send me. I actually read and watch. Yeah, I'm
that's
honestly, stop it. Just stop it. Anyway, sorry. Moving on from there. So what's taking the place of that as our show is Master of the Air, which at the moment we're only 3 episodes in, enjoying it. It's quite to your point, and I remember you talking about this when you were first kicking off with it as well. It's it's very different at the moment in that it's still quite clean cut, I would say. Um, at the moment they've been through a few scary missions, but I'm expecting it to go to rat shit pretty soon. So I am enjoying it an awful lot. um so For All Mankind, Master of the Air, still watching the usual Scrubs, Battlestar Galactica, um Shogun, watching. Oh, there's two new things come out on oh, sorry. There's two other things I've been watching recently. There's a UK comedian called Noel Fielding. For some of you guys in the US, you might remember the Mighty Boosh. And if you don't remember it's quite a niche British sense of humor. It can
is
be quite. Sorry,
isn't he the Bake Off guy?
I
The
was about to
He was on
say.
there for a while, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he still is. So he's also one of the comedian presenters of the Great British Bake Off as well. But prior to that, he's very much an alternative comedian in the UK. Um, very, very. He can be quite divisory in terms of he's not a particularly mainstream comic. It's a very, very different type of humor. But I like his humor, and Apple TV have him. Um, there's a bunch of writers in the UK that are responsible for many, many different types of comedy programs, like Spaced, for example, amongst others. And they've come up with a historical or an inaccurate historical sitcom called The Completely Made Up Adventures of Dick Turpin. Dick Turpin being a very famous highwayman in the UK many hundreds of years ago. And he plays the part of Dick Turpin as our hero, albeit what we're seeing in the program is he's not a particularly good highwayman, and in fact he's a bit crap actually. But somehow, by means of his cunning or his clumsiness, he ends up winning the day, and it's quite funny. It's my kind of sense of humor. It's quite, like I said, it can be quite alienating because it's not a particularly mainstream type of sense of humor, but I'm enjoying it. The other thing I saw was See How They Run. See How They Run is a 2022 film starring one of my favorite actors of all time, um, Sam. Forgot the guy's name. Oh
Don't
my
don't let this
goodness
don't let there
me!
be a correction next week. We're
No,
doing
it's gonna
we
have
got
to
a
be, isn't
streak
there?
of one.
Hang on, hang on.
Do, do,
Sam
do,
Rockwell.
do.
Sorry,
Oh,
Sam Rockwell. I just forgot his name for a second. Sam Rockwell, and it's interesting, and it was recommended to me from someone that listened to the pod a few weeks back. You remember I went to see the Mousetrap at the
yes.
theatre, which was the Agatha Christie play. Anyway, there's a film called See How They Run, which is basically a whodunit about someone that gets killed during the stage play of the Mousetrap. It's really odd. It's a film producer or director that's looking to make the Mousetrap into a film, which of course it never has been, and it's a story behind his death. And by watching the play, someone recommended this film, and I watched that and actually quite enjoyed it. It's actually it's quite an interesting take, and actually it's quite interesting how close the film gets to the actual plot of the Mousetrap, which I thought was meant to be kept a secret. But anyway, and I saw that as well, and that's really been it. Apart from our main conversation. Oh, there is one thing I wanted to talk to you about. I don't want to go on for too long. Um, I'm really getting into retro Star Wars art at the moment. So this
Nice.
goes back to if you remember some of the conversations we had in our very very early episodes. Very early episodes. Look, check me out. We haven't even done 10 episodes yet, and I'm talking about early episodes. Anyway, the point being is that I was talking about at my point at my stage in life getting really really loving the flamboyancy of some of the old retro Star Wars art and comics and the rest of it. Anyway, I'm really going down a rabbit hole at the moment, looking at YouTube, looking at eBay, looking at artists that are really taking some of that 70s camp, Flash Gordon camp, which was applied to Star Wars in the media realm, and turning it into pieces of art. And I'm going down that rabbit hole, and I know that certainly in the immediate future, I may be making one or two purchases because I love it. I absolutely love it. Anyway, I thought I'd let you know.
Yeah. Got a couple poster tubes showing up at the house and be like, "Oh, Lucy, it's okay. It's not. It's a
Yeah,
gift. It's a gift. I got it on sale."
exactly. Or a canvas or
Ooh,
two.
those are, dude. That just reminds me. Uh, I there is. So I obviously worked at Disney, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever. I think it's like ha.com. Have you ever heard of Heritage Auctions?
Yes.
Don't.
Yeah. They're the other guys they're the alternative to Prop Store, right?
Yeah, but they do a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, yeah,
word of advice: don't ever sign up for an account for them unless
yeah.
you want to be inundated with things that you cannot afford, but really really want. Um, I made the mistake one time of they did a huge liquidation and like estate sales for a bunch of like old Disney stuff, and they had one of the original. So I used to work at Madison. And I met working at Country Bear Jamboree, and they had one of the
Yeah,
original Disneyland posters that sit out front for the attractions up, and I was like, I got outbid during the auctions, but they were selling like Skyway cars, like actual ride vehicles. They sold everything down to just stupid little stuff. But I bid on it and I didn't win it, but I didn't realize that like people who don't pay just keeps trickling down to like highest bidders and highest bidders. So it eventually got down to me and I was like, it was my whatever bid. And I actually paid for it. This thing is freaking massive. I don't know. I'll have to show you sometime, but it's outside this window that the cat usually jumps in, and it's on this wall. This thing is like 4 feet by 6 feet big, and it came in this
excellent.
monster frame. It showed up one day in like a crate, and and Madison's like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "I got a surprise for you. I hope we got a wall." And so it's out there. It's ridiculous. But yeah, now they're like, "Hey," all the time. They send me these like 400-page like catalogs full of like Star Wars stuff, and it's all like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this will probably go for 2 million." It's like, "Oh, well, good thing you sent it to me so I can get that. That's exactly what I want. Let me just rob the neighbors and sell
There's
everything I own." And
there's a pod I follow, and it's and they're sponsored by Heritage actually, which is the reason why I knew the name. It's a pod called the
Heritage, I'd love you
stuff.
guys sponsor us, please. That'd be freaking
Yeah,
sick.
no, the stuff dreams are made of, and it's two collectors, David Mandel and Ryan Condal. The point being is they're both writers. They're both writers in the film industry. They Ryan, for example, is it Condal? 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 Anyway, he's the guy that wrote House of the Dragon. So he's
Oh
the
wow.
he's the guy that, yeah. So these two characters have their own. And David Mandel wrote Curb Your Enthusiasm. So these are good guys that know their stuff. And they've got a their hobby has turned into such a habit. They've turned that they've had to create this podcast, and it's hilarious. Well, it's hilarious and depressing because these guys bid have got so much um disposable income, shall we say, that they bid on pretty much. I mean, they're like you and I. They're fanboys like anyone else, but just got a different level of disposable income, and they buy so much stuff, and it's honestly awe-inspiring, jaw-dropping, and depressing when you listen to these guys talking about what they've bought. I think it's for
I
example,
might have to check that out so I can live vicariously
David.
through them.
Yeah, they've annotated their pods really well. If you can check out the one where David wins an X-wing, screen used X-wing model. Um,
Was that in like
it,
the
it-
last 6 months or something? Or
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, 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 yeah.
I know
It,
I watched that auction go down. That was
it was the
wild.
props. That was the prop store auction, right?
Yeah.
And it was yeah, it's yeah. He ended up buying. He ended up originally. He ended up buying himself a stunt. I wouldn't call it a stunt X-wing. One that was going to be blown up
A
that wasn't blown
non-hero, like
up.
a non-hero one,
That's
yeah.
that's the one. That's the one. And then while that was satisfactory in his mind, he ended up going for the hero one, which is interesting because apparently there are markers there to indicate that it was at some point something like red 3, 2,
Yep.
5, and 1, because they obviously used it for different shots and then took away a certain amount of decals to make it look like a different ship.
It's the stripes on the top of the wings. I never knew it
Yeah,
until I got into modeling and it's like, oh, there's actually like bands
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that
yeah,
indicate
yeah.
it.
So if you check out the stuff Dreams are made of, they're the guys that buy all the stuff. They buy things like the original Indiana Jones whips and Indiana Jones
Yep.
hat and the leather
They're
jacket.
the they're the guys who, as I'm watching those auctions, because I obviously get a lot of emails and stuff about it, I'm
Yeah,
going,
yeah, yeah.
"Who is buying this
Yeah, yeah,
stuff?"
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They are.
Well, there's a conspiracy theory, well, not conspiracy theory, that they've got a theory that they know when they're up against Peter Jackson, for example. Peter Jackson is one of those fanboys again that has a really really good collection of his own. Um, and I wouldn't say money's no object, but money's a very very different. Their circumstances are very very different to mine.
They have a lot
And
more objects than we
it's
do.
really interesting. Yeah, it's really, really interesting, their stuff. I mean, some of it is, yeah, exactly. Some of it is quite a bit weird. But it's kind of like where money is no object to the point where it becomes, to me, bizarre. It's not relative anymore. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, wow, I I don't even
It's it's
know what
my
world you live in.
it's the
Um,
question I
y-
always ask Madison all the time. It's like, "Okay, when you get to be like Taylor Swift or Peter Jackson level, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
do they actually use like a normal credit card? Like what
yeah.
how do those finances like even work? Like I know they have accountants and stuff like that, but like how does it even like behave? It's like, "Oh, here's my wallet and I have my debit card in it." It's like, is that how does it work when you're a billionaire or whatever?
No idea. I think it's probably a wave of it's a bit like the whole Jedi mind trick. It's just a
It's just
wave of two fingers.
you just have one big line of credit that everybody just
Yeah,
sorts out. Yeah.
yeah.
I will never know. It's one of those questions. Anyways,
So do you want to talk about Batch?
yes, I've recently tried to. I can't. I wish I was a graphic designer because I was going to make a whole graphic and I had it all in my head. And I was going to call it like D Brad Batch, but
Oh,
yeah,
very
punny,
good.
very punny. But no,
We've
yeah,
we found we've found the title.
yeah, the D Brad Batch. It's like, but I do wonder. Okay, there had to be a lawyer when they were doing that show. They're like, okay, there's one actor and he's going to play like 37 characters. Like, how
Mhm.
does that work? They're like, does he get paid extra? Does he get paid like what kind of credits does that involve? Because I know I read a book one time that was talking about like how the like the names on posters and stuff works and like why they do
Yeah.
featuring and starring and introducing and all that stuff and like why the names don't line up necessarily with where the people are standing because it's all part of the contract. Like how does the D Bradley Baker stuff work when you play 470 characters in a show and it's like it just fascinates me. It's like there's got to be somebody writing a contract. They're like, "This is irritating. Can we please stop doing this?" Like, like it's a pain in somebody's side. I'm
Yeah.
sure. But anyways, yes, let's talk Bad Batch. Sorry, I got excited for a minute.
No, 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 not at all. So we had our two episodes this week, which is a welcoming is a surprise, but a welcome one again. Um, so we started off with infiltration, and again, like the first time we did this, I've just made loads and loads of real time notes that may not make much sense, but
So I have a proposal. Let's
I'll go
do
through them. Go
let's
on.
do high level thoughts
Yeah.
per episode. We'll do one episode at a time. High level thoughts on the next episode, and then we'll get into the because I know I have a tendency to be like, let's talk about theory for 45 minutes in the middle. I'll save all mine for the end once we get through the high levels.
Oh, dude, I did a Sean Hoffman. I've got at least 45 minutes on Starship design.
Dude, I put my notes in a separate notes document so you couldn't see them ahead of time, so you don't know what's coming. That's how. That's how. Oh,
Neither do you.
look at that. What is that thing? Is that your phone?
It's my
I was like,
phone. Yeah.
oh, I was like, whoa, that's cool. Look at
Right.
this.
Like, look at us. We might know. One day we might know what we're doing. Okay. So high level infiltration. What do you think?
I only have three thoughts on this. Okay, four. One is dark as shit. But two, I have a recommendation for people. If you have the opportunity, don't watch it on a TV. watch it on a laptop in a dark room. It makes the whole episode way better. But that's not here nor there. It is dark and it sucks, and I wish there was a way to do it. Disney Plus should have two versions. It's like real version and like super enhanced bright version. Okay, here's my real thoughts. Rex's initial animation was silky smooth and impressive in the beginning. With like, there was just something about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's something about the Clone Wars and animation where it's like, there's no like horizontal movement. I know I talked about it last week. It's all vertical, boop, 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 like walking like stick
Yeah,
figures.
yeah, yeah.
The way they did that was really cool. I got my heart skipped a beat for a second at a point where Echo and Omega were kind of talking in the beginning. It was very ominous. It was very much like leading down that path of like, dude, Echo's not coming back. He's gifting her
Yeah.
guns. It's weird. It's sentimental. It's like, what the hell's happening here? I was like, what? I mean, there's times where I'm like, dude, somebody put Echo out of his misery. Like, I'm on like team. Like, can we
Yeah.
please fix Echo? He's dude is struggle
He
busting.
doesn't look good, does he?
He does not. And my only other thought is at the end of it, I verbally said out loud, like, fucking wolf. Seriously, like, can we please stop putting wolf imagery in Star Wars? Like, I'm positive about it, but it's like, please, please no more.
So,
But that was
so
my only
is
thoughts.
so is that Extraction? You're combining both of them. If you're talking about
He
Wolf, you're combining.
he I thought he was at the very end of episode 6 because it was in my episode 6 notes at the very big. I think he was like right before the credits. They showed his
Right.
pauldron.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, because it
Oh
was
yeah,
originally a
yeah, yeah,
question.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
originally a
yeah,
question
yeah.
like, is that
The
wolf? I
landing.
swear.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, you're right. You're right. I'm glad he's in there because this is connected tissue, which
Yeah.
I know that I'm not. You know, I'm. Yeah. Anyway, um, I high level thoughts, loads and loads of notes, which I'll go through very very quickly later, not now. I really enjoyed it. I'm really glad they
Yeah.
were bunched together because I feel as if it's. I really like the pacing of this of the way they've done this season. And originally, I thought they're doing it because they want to make room for May the 4th for something else. But after speaking to you and the Scruffy guys last week, I'm at peace with myself to not expect anything for around that time. It's literally a breather before we roll into the acolyte, which I'm looking forward to. But um, I actually think the pacing's really, really worked. It doesn't feel like an afterthought or
Mhm.
having to do this at the expense of the schedule or to make room for something else. It actually feels purposeful, which I really, really appreciate. I listened to another pod today. Actually, it was the Nick, the guy from Bayside, his podcast. What they call it?
Thank
Thank
the
the Maker.
maker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was listening to them today, and they were actually speculating whether it had something to do with the way that you license, licenses for episodes. You can't make it an extended one. You can't make it a 40
Yep.
minute feature. You have to still make it two lots of 20 in order to satisfy some sort of regulations or whatever. And I thought that's actually quite smart thinking. But I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I'm really glad we didn't end up with a cliffhanger. We kind of concluded that story, albeit it probably asks more questions than it answers actually. But I really, really enjoyed it. I thought that it was really well done. It certainly wasn't any slower than any other episode we had, and it really sets it up for which left two. I came away from that from those episodes thinking two things. One was Crosshair's redemption is well underway now, and his brothers that he's fought both within and outside the Bad Batch are really getting where he's at now, which I appreciate, and I don't think they're questioning his loyalty anymore. And secondly, I loved the way that it turned into it turned what seemed so very provincial and very very small into this very simple introduction of Rex and his what he's trying to achieve with the all of his brothers out there, regardless of of where they are. It turned it into such a larger problem that they're trying to address or situation they're trying to address. And I thought that we talk about every week about episodes serving a purpose, and I thought they did it perfectly well. Can we talk about starships yet?
No, no, we cannot.
Okay.
Uh, for episode 7, Extraction, my notes were more on the animation style. I know I'm beating this dead horse. Uh, Micro movements were very critical in this one. There's very subtle, very cool. My other high level thought was, dude, stop using flashlights. And it made it even funnier because when later in the episode they were using infrared with the like the heat signature predator style. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, yeah,
stop walking around with flashlights. Like, there they
yeah,
are.
yeah.
It's always like it's funny. The Crosshair and Omega relationship is super cute and endearing. How that's turned around so quickly. Not that the quickly part is as a criticism. It's just like I really appreciate the banter, the brotherly, sisterly, fatherly,
Yeah.
daughterly kind of like banter. I thought that was really well done. Um, I have a note that I don't really remember what the hell it means, but it's like, why did the first shuttle leave? I don't remember what that was about, but I'll figure it out later. Wilhelm Scream, another classic, popped in
Yay!
there. Uh, Wrecker saving and kind of looking after Batcher, adorable, love it, love to see it. Um, Good stuff. And then at the end, the I just couldn't help but chuckle at the waterfallish scene where it reminded me of the days when I used to play Goldeneye with my friends or like other games. It's like snipers only, and you're in close quarters, and it's like can't even look down the scope because you're 10 feet away from each other. You're just trying to shoot them, and you can't because it's like a snipers only Goldeneye fight, way too close. We only have rifles. It was funny. It just reminded me of that. It felt like a play on it. So then you have to get then it becomes slappers only. Just but
Yeah.
those are my my don't let Sean deep dive thoughts on both episodes so far. But yeah, you mentioned about the kind of
Sorry.
the
So
two.
very,
Go ahead.
go back to Amiga as well. Is that she really has saved Crosshair. She
Yeah,
really has saved him, and Crosshair is someone that I am really liking. I really like him now, and
he's the core of the season, and like he's really turned around.
oh, without a doubt, yeah, 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 without a doubt. It's really his. I mean, to the point where Hunter's really taken a back seat, hasn't he? Which I don't think is a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all because it's about a batch, not an individual, which is good. But I think that she has literally saved him without sounding too over dramatic. I think that she's been good for his soul, but also in bringing him back and realizing that there are people that love him, and even the people that love him needed to be reminded that they loved him, which again is down to her. So
So that steps into
uh,
one of my thoughts a little bit. I'd love to hear. I don't know. I get the feeling he's not in the clear yet with the calling him brother. I don't want to go too far into one my thought here, but it's like I have a feeling he didn't necessarily wash out as quickly as they say he did with the assassin program necessarily. Um, and okay, I guess I can't really phrase it in a way without talking about the larger thing. It's there's a part of me that wonders, what do you think? The assassins, Hemlock, and like my continued theory of like dark troopers. It's like one, are assassins Hemlock's side project similar to what they did with the dark troopers with oh gosh, Giancarlo Esposito, his character.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like, is he working on the Palps project, but also creating his own elite force on the side by doing? Is he somehow is he using the genetic stuff? Is he stealing abilities? Stealing air quotes. Is he stealing abilities genetically and implanting them in other living clones? Because they're all really good snipers for some reason, and it's like it's very similar to Crosshair. And did that mess up Crosshair's like I don't want to go too far on that path of like, okay, did they like steal it from him and so he's like damaged, or did he get injured and so then he's no longer useful and put him over there? But like, are they using something genetically to like make super soldiers based on like, are they turning them into like a bad batch based on the good qualities from
Could
other
be,
things?
could be. I don't think it's as self-serving as Gideon. Um, I don't think it's self. I don't think Hemlock is a. I think his ambition is towards his self is about his greed and his self it's about his promotion within the I don't think
Yeah.
he has aspirations to rule like Gideon does, for example. I don't think he's looking to create the ultimate soldier in his own guise as Gideon did, which was not such a great plot point. But anyway, it's what we've got to go with. Um, I do think. Sorry, taking one step back. Um, to your point about Crosshair, about him not being fully in the clear, I don't think he ever will be. I
Yeah.
think he's like any other. I think he's like every person that's gone through trauma and gone through some sort of PTSD or extreme PTSD. I don't think he ever will be right. I think he always will be somewhat on the periphery or the outside, and that's what makes his character for me at the moment so compelling. Because I've known people like that myself in my own life, in that they never will be the same again.
Yeah.
Life has spit them up, chewed them up and spit them out, and they never will be the same again. Does that mean that they can't be they don't have a function, or they can't be still an upstanding person in society? No, of course it doesn't. And I do think that his story is on my feeling, and my hope is that he contributes a great deal in some sort or another. I know I hypothesized that maybe he might even become the leader at some point. But the fact is that, will he become a brother again? No, I think he's too much of an individual
Yeah.
because of the trauma he's been through. But that's not such a bad thing, especially when it comes down to breaking away from the shackles of being a clone, and the implications of being a clone, of having the same kind of thought process, the same kind of belief system, and so on and so forth. Anyway, there's that.
I
Second thing
apologize
is back
for
to
I apologize for taking it deep. We can I totally jumped over your
no, no, no,
starship
no, no,
scene.
no, 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 no,
I
no,
to
no. Shut up.
No, I'm being serious. I was like, "Oh
Um,
shit, I totally blew past it."
no, 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 no. But I do. To your point, um, can I see, if you think of the Bad Batch as being a, five, well, four now, well, three now. Yeah,
Maybe. Maybe.
yeah, four, maybe three. Um, um, uh, defects, but having remarkable qualities that make them stand out and make them in many ways more superior than a standard clone. Can I see Hemlock using his process to do what to serve two reasons? One is obviously the project that Palpatine has with him. The second, to create the ultimate trooper, assassin, call it whatever you have, that has the qualities of the sniping ability of Crosshair, the tracking and the tracking abilities of Hunter, the physicality of Wrecker, and so on, and the technical abilities of Tech, and so on and so forth. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that. Which basically means that you get if you consider your baseline as being the standard clone, and then the Bad Batch being above the baseline because of their skills, but ultimately it's only in one particular area. You combine that into one donor, into one shell, then yeah, you've got one hell of an army on your side. I got no idea. I actually think that there's, I think Rex called them shadows. I think they're sick. I think they're absolutely sick. And one thing I did write down, which I will talk about, is that I love their aesthetics. I love their design,
Yeah.
and I've heard awful lot of people talk about their design and their aesthetics, and I think I'm on my own. Maybe I'm on my own, but all I kept thinking of was that they look like the flesh and blood version in my mind of the assassin droids that the separatists used to use.
Yeah.
Yeah, the very very lithe, very 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 slight in frame, very tall, very thin. But the rather than the T visor or the visor that you expect from normal troopers, they've got a very snug fitting helmet with two very very separate eyepieces. For me, they look like a, and I know that everything in Star Wars lends itself from an aesthetic point of view to show some sort of progression, technological progression, or historic progression. But I loved it, and I honestly thought that the mannerisms as well just reminded me very much of the assassin droids from the old Clone Wars cartoon, amongst other things.
I didn't think I that's a really good call because it's like I kept getting stuck in the realm of like their helmets look like Kanan's when he goes blind. But that's actually I
Yeah.
think what I was thinking of. It's like no, they look like those. I remember them from Jedi Fallen Order and stuff. It's like those stupid bouncy assassin droids that just jump all over the place, and
Yeah.
they're so bouncy. And it's like, yeah, that's the faceless anonymity. I mean, that's what all stormtroopers and stuff are, but uh, it even seems even more so. Like there's not a lot of contrast. It's very assassin ninja ish. I'm still personally in the camp of like, are these gonna be death troopers? Is that too connected? Are they gonna be are they leading into like because I remember like the old like Rogue One book, like the visual dictionary book was like, oh, they're like genetically modified to be. That's why
Yeah, and
they're all fucked up. But
yeah. And I mean, that would be sick if it was the case. If they are the early Death Troopers, then great. Because there's something about. I mean, you mentioned it a couple of episodes ago. You know, you've got the Commandos, which is supposedly the elite, but they look. I mean, they're so over proportioned.
like a football
Um,
player, like a football pads,
yeah,
like
well, it's just
American
like
football.
but they look like a berserker, and yet in the game they're meant to be, the premium of infiltration and ordnance. It's like not in that suit they're not going to be.
Yeah,
Anyway, what I loved about the Rogue One piece was they're all slight, they're very very tall, but they look like Navy SEALs, right? They
yeah.
look like. I mean that's the point. They look like Navy SEALs, and that's kind of what I loved about that. So if that's the case, if this is the if this is the proto, the proto Death Troopers, then
Before they
great.
really mess him up, like this is kind of
Yeah,
the path. I mean, if it's not that, I won't be disappointed. I just like theorizing stupid stuff that never happens. But yeah, that'd be
yeah,
cool.
we all do, we all do. Right, I'm going to go through this list of my very like super quick, which I know is rare for me, but I'm going to do it super
And
quickly.
then starships.
No, this is part of it. It's
Oh,
infiltrate.
okay,
This is
okay, here
this
we
is
go.
my note. This is my notes for infiltration. So again, there's no rhyme nor reason for this. I'm reading it out as I wrote it down. Master Assassin in brackets. Shawn will be happy. Close brackets. Um, Senators Singh and Chuchi. We've seen them again. So Chuchi was the young
The one who cares
the
about the
young
clones.
senator who cares about the clones and organized awful lot of the liberation and in the Senate. That was great. I then wrote down Hauser, Greer, Rex, Gregor, Wolf, and Samson, all named, if not seen, during this episode. I also wrote down, surprised they're still wearing clone armor in the open, bearing in mind that they were there to protect those senators. They're a little bit overt, aren't they? They're not
Yeah.
particularly. Bearing in mind, they
Besides
they don't
his,
wear that.
bes- besides his indoor hoodie thing, his poncho he had on.
But they
Yeah,
all,
it's
but
like,
they all were. They were all
yeah,
wearing their old armor, which I'd have thought that at least dumb it down a bit or disguise it down a bit. I was a bit surprised they were wearing their claymore armor, but bearing in mind it's a production. They already had the assets. Why not? But surprised me a little bit. Um, they've built up the numbers since the last time we saw them. So Fireball, Samson, as I said. I've written down similar Master the Assassin droid head. We've already spoken about that. Oh, you were right. Wolf was there in the first episode. Wolf is still a bad guy. So bearing in mind that the next time we see him is in Rebels, and he's on the Walker living with Gregor and Rex in harmony. In this episode, and certainly the next episode, he's still a bad guy. Although we see that he shows them leniency in the next episode, which is interesting because if you remember in Rebels, Wolf was the guy that dobbed them in.
yeah. That's what I
Wolf
was
was the
trying to figure out.
guy
Like,
yeah, yeah,
weird.
yeah. So he's clearly coming around to the idea of not working for the Empire. But even 10 years from now, from where it's set now, he's still tipping off the Empire because obviously Kanan and Ezra. Sorry, he tipped them off on Kanan and Ezra. Then I get into the ships. Okay, so here we go. So I like Echo's ship. Echo's ship reminds me, it's got the bridge of the Ebon Hawk. If you remember the original KOTOR
Hmm.
game,
Yep.
it's got that very rectangular type of bridge of the Ebon Hawk. It's got the body of an extended stock freighter. So if you imagine a stretched Millennium Falcon, so rather than being circular, it's little bit more rectangular, albeit with the curves of a Corellian freighter. Then it's got the engine configuration of a V wing. You know, the four, you know,
Yeah.
the on top of it. And I thought it looked really sick. I thought it looked really, really good, and I actually quite like it. And I think that, oh, if they could make a model of that, or if they could do something with that, might be interested. The assassin ship. The assassin ship. Did I like it? I don't think I did. I knew it felt to me like it had it was like a crossbreed between is it the Acclamator Republic cruiser, the original, the very very first wedge shaped star destroyers that they had in the Clone War, at the end of the Clone Wars,
The
when the
Venators?
clones. Pardon?
The Venators? Is that what they were? The Republic
I thought the Venators were in the
the
Revenge of the Sith.
they all acclimator, I think you're right. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the smaller one, the smaller, really
It's more
fat
more of a
wedge shape.
triangle, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it reminded me of it's like it's almost like a fighter version of that, cross between that and the second Nubian or Naboo ship that Padme had in Attack of the Clones. It's that kind of dart shaped, wedge shaped ship with a very slight cockpit on the top, albeit in a triangular shape, like the Acclamator Republic cruiser. I'm not sure if I liked it. It was almost a bit too on the nose without without much without much design ethic or story gone into it. Awful lot of what I appreciate about the industrial design in Star Wars is the story as to why it's designed a certain way,
Yeah.
or why it's weathered a certain way. And I didn't feel that with the assassins ship.
So it's like when I saw, I don't remember exactly what it looked like, but I remember my thought when I saw it. When I first saw it, I was like, that I thought it was a Sith, or like I thought it was like, oh, is this gonna be a Saj? Because it reminded me, I don't remember specifically what it was, but it's like I thought it looked like Darth Maul's ship a little bit.
Oh, the
Like it just kind of,
infiltrator. Yeah,
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 it just like it
yeah,
was like it, but then he stepped out. It's like it seemed like a bit much. Like it to me, it felt
yeah,
like too much ship to be giving to people that they see as cannon fodder. Like,
yeah,
it's like, oh, these are really important assassins. We send them out, but why'd they give him such a nice ship? It's like it's Kylo Ren level, like TIE silencer. It's like, oh, it's this big monstrosity. It's got all these beep bop boop boop shoulder pads, wrist
yeah,
gauntlet things that he could control with. It's like they wouldn't have done that for expendable individual. I mean, hell, the TIE fighters, most of them don't even have shields. Like, so why do these assassins all of a sudden get top tier
yeah,
ships?
yeah. So that was my notes on that on the first step. And the second one, I've got extraction. I've got and again, it's with as it's equally as half baked as the first or the previous episode. Crosshair keeps missing was my first comment.
Nice.
Secondly, the assassin's a badass.
Yep.
Thirdly, Rex and the team escape in a Lego brick. Again, it's a Starship Comet, but the escape craft that they use to get away from from their camp looked like a leg. It didn't look particularly aerodynamic.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it served a purpose at all. In fact, and it felt like they were escaping in a Lego brick, which I thought, cool concept, but I just didn't. Again, it didn't convey a story to me, and I'm not really sure. I want to know what the story that was
It looked
if they
like
had.
like an escape pod they bolted onto the side of the mountain. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It wasn't going anywhere quickly, right?
Yeah.
And then Wilhelm scream. You're right. Got that. Caught that as well. And then the next one was excuse my language. Holy shit! Bad Batch not using stun anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but in the first couple of seasons they were using, we're not going to hurt our brothers. Everyone was stunned. Gonna use
Yeah.
stun, and they were killing pretty much everyone getting in their way in this episode until it came down to the assassin, in which case they stunned him, and I'm
Dude, and
like, what?
he was drowning a dude too. And
Yeah, yeah,
he was
yeah,
getting
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
serious.
So they were killing pretty much everywhere. They had live fire for everyone apart from the assassin, in which case they stunned him. Which I thought, well, okay, moves the plot forward, and the assassin's still alive. Hey, but it didn't make much sense at the time because I was actually quite impressed that they were killing people. And then lastly, my last thought was actually quite a sensible adult thought, which was, Wolf has let them go. What are the consequences for Wolf? And that was it. They're my notes.
So I see your adult comment, and I'm gonna bring it right back down again to I think the only way my thought when I saw that waterfall fight scene was like, this needs a bear, like a big bear, to make it like the Fox and the Hound. I'm like, this is Fox and the Hound all over again. We got these two fighting, and then the bear's gonna come in, and it's like, oh no, we got player 3 entering the game, but that didn't happen. But it's so cool. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Okay. I'll write to Dave. Hang on.
You gonna howl
Can
at
we have
him?
a
Is that how you guys said
can,
howl mail?
can we have a bear? You like your wolves? Can we have a bear, please?
Like a big bear, real big bear.
But no, all joking aside, I really enjoyed it. I
I did
really
too.
enjoyed it. This is really good telly. Really, really good telly.
I
Um,
am. I remember hearing on one podcast earlier. I don't remember who it was, but they compared the assassins to like a Terminator because that was a big fall off that waterfall,
oh
and
yeah.
that dude is still like he got crushed by the rocks and just. I thought it was weird how he was just like flick the rocks off like no big deal. Like when they first collapsed the whole thing, and it just like kicks him off. I was like, wait a minute, like is that intentional or is this just like cartoon magic of like, oh, I got to get out
Well,
from underneath the rubble?
to your point earlier on, weren't the and I haven't listened. I haven't read the either the art of or the Rogue One stuff for ages. The behind the scenes stuff. But weren't didn't they have cybernetics, or was it
They
only
were
genetic?
I think they said that they were augmented. They were like experimented on
Right.
and augmented. So that can mean anything. So I did see somebody. I try not to listen to too many podcasts that talk about it before ours because I don't want to come and be like, here's everybody else's theories. But I couldn't help but hear one
Yeah,
said
exactly.
like,
I mean, hopefully next week we'll be back on time again. You and I aren't going anywhere, so we'll be back on time.
it's like I did see somebody theorize that like you couldn't see the heat signature's legs of this assassin. So they're like, could that be tech? Could his legs be robot legs? It's like, I mean, I don't know why his legs would be robot legs from a fall. I mean, I feel like his everything would be robot, but it's like, could the weekly check of do you think tech is dead?
Isn't that isn't that actually technically accurate? Because I know what we see in Predator is one thing, but when it comes down to heat signatures, isn't it the heart area and the head that resonates the most heat? So in theory, you'd only anyway. Sorry, I'm going to
I
could
have no
be
idea. Could be,
could be
could be.
could be.
Uh, could be. What else? So I have one major minor thing left. That's kind of I think I don't really have any other deep dive stuff, but it was kind of an epiphany halfway through the episode, and it's kind of based on some feedback we've heard from everybody else, like how everybody kind of gets frustrated that they keep calling it M count this, M count that. It's like, why don't they just say midichlorians? And I think episode 7 was the one that made it clear of like, oh, it's because they don't know what the hell it is. And this is where Asajj comes in. They're gonna come across Asajj, and she's gonna be the one, in my opinion, this is all theory, that she's gonna be the one who explains to them what M count is, what it signifies, and then now they're all gonna get introduced into midichlorians. And my takeaway is I'm interested to see how deep they go with that explanation, since this will kind of be the first time they really kind of get into, besides episode 1, of getting into midichlorians. So I'm like, I'm very excited. If this is true, I'm very excited to see what they do here because they've never really addressed it in visual media of like, okay, somebody's literally going to ask, what the hell is a midichlorian? And I'm assuming Asajj is going to be the one who's going to be like, well, it's blah, 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 whatever, whatever it is. But that's my theory. That's my other crazy Shawn theory of like that. Okay, the Asajj connection makes sense. Um,
So, yeah, but going back to that, let's use the time we've got left to speculate. So, assuming that, how do we explain Asajj? How do we
I think
explain
they're
her
going to
being
track. I
there?
think they're going to track her down. I think it's not going to be her coming in and like being a bounty hunter, which I've always assumed. I think at the end they tailed off with like, oh, she's talking about M count, and they're like, and Rex like, you got to figure out what the hell, why they want her, and somebody somewhere is going to be like, oh, M count, you need to track down this person, and they're going to go find her on some remote planet or whatever it is, and she's going to be pissed, be like, I'm going to kill you, blah,
So you,
whatever I said in the
you
trailer.
so you think, yeah, so you, so you think that by now, that's me done. Do you, do you think do you think that she will serve the purpose of being a segue to the Bad Batch's journey, or do you think she's actually going to be her story explaining how she survived death is going to be actually important? What's your gut feeling?
My gut feeling tells me she is a hermit on some planet off living by herself, and that they're going to have to track her down. And I don't think we're going to get any answers to how she survived.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
which may lead into, but going back to our harebrained shit from a couple episodes ago, I think similar to my what if theories of how they use this as a way to lightly introduce concepts to
Yeah.
later be used. I wonder if Asajj is going to play a role in Ahsoka or other downstream mediums, but this is their way of being like, oh, by the way, Asajj is just like she's pissed and chilling somewhere as a hermit because they love we love a hermit. Hermits are very popular, and so it's like she's living in her cave or doing her thing, vibing, being mad at something. They're gonna stumble into her, and she's gonna be like, "What are you doing here? I'm pissed." Well, I'll say I do like Asajj. I'm making it sound like I don't, but I do, and I think they're gonna be like, "Hey, we've been told to find you because you know what an M count is," and then she gets to turn into like the wizened old hermit, and be like, "That's a term I haven't heard in a long time. It's actually midichlorians, blah blah blah. Now get the hell out of here." And they're gonna be like, maybe what they say to her is a catalyst for her to get involved again in something. But my gut is that we don't get answers of like, yo, what happened to you? I thought you were like taken to like Lake Winnetonka and like given back to your people, and now you're here just chilling,
She
doing
was.
whatever.
Dooku killed her, right? He lightninged her to
There was
say
like,
as
yeah, there's like weird stuff that happened in the end of that. It's like she's dead, like going, she's like, take her here and like do.
well,
It's like
she was saving Quinlan.
yeah.
She hit some lightning from Dooku. She died, and then she was redeemed posthumously by the council, and then they buried her on Dathomir. Is that
Yeah,
is
but
that
there were
about
like
right?
I haven't read it in a long time, and I'm
Yeah,
basically
yeah. It's been ages.
it's like, but I thought there was some like weirdness, like where you like her, like she there was like an ambiguity I thought at the end of that where it's like there's something that makes it seem like her spirit lives on. I mean, but at the same time, with what we've seen in Ahsoka, I think all bets are off. Like
Yeah, true.
we
Even in Clone Wars, Mother tells her she raised all the dead witches and stuff, didn't she, to fight Dooku the first time. So we've seen it before, so I can see why why it could happen again. But that would suggest that she'd be dead with
maybe she's
glowing green
trapped.
eyes.
Maybe she's trapped on death. Maybe they're gonna do some weird thing of like she's in a state of in between where like she can't leave Dathomir. It's like, oh, I'm
I just hope that she's more than a bounty hunter, because to kill someone off, in such a huge way, albeit off screen because of where they were at the time. And then
I'm
just to bring
hoping
her
they
back
turn her.
as a
Yeah,
segue for information, and then her profession is still a bounty hunter. It's like, uh,
I'm hoping
you
they
know,
turn her into the wizened, old,
yeah,
grumpy
mother.
person. Yeah, the
Maybe she's the
mother
next
just
mother. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The next
she's the
Mother
witch that
Thompson or
lives in the
something.
woods that you like.
Yeah, yeah,
The movie Big Fish, where it's like, oh, that's so scary, but then you like,
yeah,
they're
yeah,
not
yeah,
they're not that bad, but they're grumpy.
yeah. I like that. I like that.
And then
I
she's like,
really like that.
you guys want to see how you're gonna die? And they're all like, yeah, let's do it.
I like that a lot. We'll see. So,
We're all wrong. It's all wrong.
oh yeah, yeah, we're going to be completely wrong, and it probably end up being the most underwhelming thing ever, and we'll still say it's still great. It's great. Hey, so where do you think? So we've got that took us up to 7, right? So we've
Yes,
got 8 left. 8 left. If my math is, yeah, it is. 8 left. So where do you think this is taking us now?
I think I think there's going to be what people call the episode of the week, where I think it's going to be a go. They right now they have nothing. I think the next couple episodes are going to be finding Asajj and like figuring out why people want Omega. Like, I'm
Yeah,
trying to think of how many more arcs you can stuff into this. It's like,
yeah.
okay, we got to figure out why Omega's important. We've we've obviously probably got a couple go to random planets and have big monsters attack us kind of things. Um, and then we have the lead up into the big episodes. The last two are the released together, correct? Like, it's gonna be a super episode again.
No, no, the finale is actually on its own. It was I worked this out last time, didn't I? I think there's sometime in April. I think it's April the um
I got it pulled up. Here we go. It's loading. There it is. Yeah, so it actually is a separate one. So that surprises me, because I would have assumed that the last episode would have been a double, so that way you don't have to try to do like the after the
well,
aftermath,
unless
like cleanup stuff. Is
unless you get to unless you get to a point where every single week, the last 5, for example, are literally one bang, 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 end of the story. It's like ramping it. That is the final ramp
Yeah,
towards your Avengers moment. I don't know, but what I would like to see is, I mean, obviously, Rex is playing with Hunter wants to go home. He's got everyone. He's got everyone with him now. He just wants to go home and protect Omega. Rex is saying, "Dude, you're in the fight now, and the only way of protecting Omega is to find out why they want her." So that's going to turn around Hunter and the rest of the batch, I guess. Turn around their focus towards, yeah, we're going to have to see this through now to the end, rather than try and hide out on our island, um, you know, in the Pacific. And I think you're right. I think that Ventress will be one of those stepping stones to understand why they need Omega. And then once that's the case, I guess either
my
one of them gets captured again, and they have to get and that forces their hand to go back to Tantis again and wreck shit, or what I would hope for, which is we follow Omega's leadership here and go back and break out our boys.
my prediction is there's 3 pieces left. Asajj, that will quickly lead into I'm on Team Tech as alive, but he's not great.
Right.
I think there will be a holy shit moment of Tech is the one. He's an assassin, and it's going to be an emotional crisis for them. Of like, they're already mad. They got to go save their brothers, but I still sense some hesitation. Like, everybody's not like Omega, where they're like, we have to go back. Like, they're they're still like, it's not as explicit. And I think that whatever, I believe it'll be a Tech moment. that they're all gonna be like, "Oh, what have they done to you? Oh, hell no." Like, and then that's when it's like, "Get everybody, let's all do this. Like, we have to do it now." Like,
Okay.
that's my theory. It's yeah. Mainly because
Yeah,
I
it's
want Tag to be
exciting,
back.
man. Yeah, but I mean, the fact that we're speculating in the first place shows that we've got a vested interest in this whole thing. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. Great.
Yes.
Really, really good. It is, mate.
Anything else? Any other thoughts on Bad Batch?
No, only that it's going to be good next week that we're back to normal time again, and that we can avoid other folks' opinions and avoid the media until we talk again next week, and at the right time, the right time, so that we can actually come into it fresh. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that. But no, all good, mate. All good.
Well, I think on that note, I think that's all we got.
In true form, we aim for an hour, we end up with 2. So we've done
Watch it
well.
watch it on listen on 2x speed this week. And there
Hey
you go.
guys, have a great week ahead. Although we hope to be speaking to you again in less than 5 days.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.